Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blazing bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will set again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icelandair, head out to Chull or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will set again. Idle champions.
Hello, everybody. I am your friendly neighborhood Gaarawarr, and it is another edition of Gaarawarr's Guide to something. Today, it's the tutorial show. Today is Gaarawarr's Guide to the 2021 Champions, Part 2. Part 2? 2? Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the champions that have come out since Greengrass, basically. So, part 1 was January, February, March. Now we're into April, May, and June. So we're going to talk Orkira, Shaka, Mahen, Celise, and Sergeant Knox. Sergeant Knox? Yeah, I was trying not to do the Part 2. Hot Shots Part 2. I grew up in the 80s. Function. I was also sitting here listening to the Idle Champions theme song and thinking, you know, I really, really, really want Bardic Inspiration Volume 2, just so, because you know they got to fully produce the Idle Champions theme song for us, folks. Come on. So if you haven't bought Bardic Inspiration Volume 1 yet, please go do so on Steam or Epic Game Store. And then you can download the files, and you can take them with you wherever you want. It's got MP3s, it's got high-quality FLAC files. I take them in my car when I go on road trips. It's pretty awesome. So we are going to, there's a code on screen, folks. There's a code on screen. To do the code, you open the shop, you go to unlock a locked chest, and you just copy it in. Copy paste works. You can type it in, if you have a keyboard. If you don't have either of those options, you're going to have to do the scrolly thing. Because that's how cryptexes work. As part of the tutorial show, my eyes are watering from all the lights in my face. As part of the tutorial show, for those of you who haven't been here for this before, I spent the first half of the show, so roughly an hour, talking about our topic for the day. You're welcome to answer questions at that time. However, I won't be answering them as they come in, like on the GG2E on the Fridays. Instead, Jay and our new friend Martin are going to be pulling questions and putting them into a document up here on the screen. So if you do ask a question, it's going to get captured. Try to put question in front, or the new question mark emote if you're a sub. And they'll try to grab those out of the chat. And then in the second half of the show, I will return and I will target first all of the questions that are on our topic, And then I will go into just, general Q&A. Yeah, the real bunny beast, like that. Like that. All right, so I kind of pushed forward. A lot of times when we're doing this show, we get to a place where I want to show off champions and how they're functioning, and then but we can't. But we're like too early to actually like tank things. So I kind of pushed us up. Into the 500s. We'll be able to go into this, and wow, I'm still click killing. I'm going to need to change my click kill wall to 530 live on stream. All right. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to do these in their order of release. Some of the champions are going to take a little more time than others, and we're going to start off with Orkira because of that. We did a little bit of talking about Orkira yesterday on GG2E, and we're going to go into some of the things we talked about yesterday. Orkira is a slot 1 champion. Yay, slot 1. Right off the back. Orkira Ildrex is from Heroes of the Plains, and is played by our very own community manager, Owa Lauren. Yay. Orkira comes in as a Dragonborn cleric. A little different from most Dragonborn. She got a little touched, shall we say, and grew wings and a tail, and had to get used to that, and got a little bigger than Dragonborn normally are. Stuff happens in D&D games, folks. She's going to be in the healing support roles. So that means she's going to help us do all of the things. She's going to keep us alive and help us do the damages. And she does it very well, folks. Since her release, she has been considered one of the best debuffers in the game. Queen of Debuffs is the title I bestowed. So she's definitely somebody you want in your roster. So if we go down through here, it's all of her stuff. Lately, we've seen champions do this, where all the different abilities in their kit tend to revolve around certain functions. And in this case, we have 2 functionalities that we're going to talk about, but they kind of all revolve around healing. Healing is a big part of her kit. And the extra things that happen are going to happen around that healing. So let's talk a Lesser Restoration. She gets it right away. Orkira heals all non-adjacent damaged champions for an amount of health per second, and that amount's going to vary. Now, this is a positional formation ability, so it's going to, as you note, we can see when we're moving around, we can see the arrows. It's not, they do this well. You can limit how many people you're going to be healing, but you don't want to do that. You want to heal as many as possible, so we're going to put her all the way. In this situation, we would want to put her either like at the front or the back to heal as many people as possible. The other key thing here, though, is it said damaged champions, so she's not just going to throw heals out once you get less restoration to everyone, like say Celeste. Celeste. I'm getting ahead of myself. Celeste will just throw out heals every second to anyone in front of her, whether they're damaged or not. No, Orkira needs them to be damaged to start healing. Makes sense, right? She doesn't want to waste her spell slots. The second ability you're going to come up with, this is kind of the key. Lesser Restoration is kind of the core, and then Elemental Fire is what kind of functions off of the healing. And we'll see how in a second. Whenever Orkira damages an enemy, they receive 1 stack of Elemental Fire, taking 10% of Orkira's damage per second for 15 seconds. This is the first part of this. Sure. I'll take a little bit of a dot damage. But this is 10% of Orkira's damage, and Orkira is not the DPS currently. Undercover DPS? Probably not. So the thing to remember here is this first part makes it seem like Elemental Fire, maybe not a great ability. It's this second part after the 15 seconds that is what causes things to go well in your favor. So damage per second, 15 seconds, and receiving a % amount of additional damage from all attacks. This is the debuff portion of Elemental Fire. So this debuffs whoever she lights up with elemental fire is debuffed and will take more damage from everything. This ability stacks up to 10 times additively, so we get a nice additive stacking bonus. So that's going to give you another EO1 total if it's stacked up to 10. When we start talking about the total buffs, and attempting to add another stack will reset the cooldown of all stacks. So that's great. You can just keep it up and continuously going, ideally with as many stacks as possible, right? So this is Lesser Restoration. This is the debuff. We get a debuff. How does that Gaarawarr? That doesn't queue into healing at all. Oh, well, let's go down here. Healing Flame increases the effect of elemental fire. That's our debuff. By 100% for each order of magnitude worth of effective healing done with Lesser Restoration on the current run. This is where they tie in together. So, a couple things we're going to need to explain with this one. So, each order of magnitude, this is again is a scientific notation feature. Whenever they're talking order of magnitudes in this game, they're talking about EO1 values. So, EO1 is 1 order of magnitude. EO8 is 8 orders of magnitude, right? So you get 100% for each order of magnitude worth of effective healing. What is effective healing? Well, again, we talked about healing that is done to damaged champions. So we're talking about them actually taking damage and getting a heal. Now there's a way to adjust this, but in the base form of Healing Flame only works for actual damage that you're healing your champions. And it's going to track over here in Formation Buffs. It will track effective healing done. Notice we're at 0 because I'm not healing anyone. There's no one else in here right now. Right, so it's going to track that for you. So there's a really good interface for seeing exactly how many orders of magnitude you have. All right. So now we're going to get to the specializations, and this is where things become a little bit more fun for what I've now dubbed Orkira farming. Breath of the Phoenix versus Tail Feather of the Phoenix. Orkira is a cleric of the Phoenix, for those who don't know, so that's where this is coming in. So Breath of the Phoenix increases the size of Orkira's Burning Hands AoE cone. We didn't talk about her base attack, but that's her base attack. And have elemental apply 2 stacks instead of 1. So let me back up here. Burning Hands, base attack, magical. You can tell by this little arcane bolt symbol. Orkira leaps to a random enemy and attacks with a small AoE cone of fire, and that, lights people up. So that's what this does. This makes the AoE bigger and applies 2 stacks of elemental fire instead of 1. Interesting, but there's situations where you might want to do this, but really it's all about Tail Feather of the Phoenix, or Shake Your Tail Feather, as I call it. Increases the effect of Lesser Restoration by 100%, so we're increasing the healing. Lesser Restoration will now heal undamaged champions, and Healing Flame will count 1% of this non-effective healing as well. So this is a way that lets us, without actually taking damage, lets us build up and ramp up our Elemental Fire debuff. So this is what you kind of want to go. If you're putting Orkira in and trying to get the most debuffage possible, and also, some nice heals, Tail Feather of the Phoenix. And that's really that's all I ever do, to be honest. It's just too good. It's just too good, and you'll see why later when we're doing some farming. Okay, so that's Tail Feather Phoenix. We get the ultimate down here, and then we have Self-Sacrifice. This is kind of like a bonus portion of her kit. Really, the core and what you want to build and use Orkira around, generally speaking, is the healing and the debuff. But Self-Sacrifice, if a champion Orkira is able to heal, i.e. non-adjacent, is about to take a killing blow, Orkira instantly swaps formation slots with that champion for 10 seconds and takes the hit for them. It could be good or bad. It depends on how much damage is coming in, right? During this time, Orkira's overwhelm point is set to twice the other champions. Ooh. So, if she's jumping in front for a tank and they're at like 30 overwhelm, Orkira's going to go to 60 overwhelm. It doesn't matter a whole lot unless they were being significantly overwhelmed, and that's why they're dying, but keep that in mind. And neither Orkira or the other champion can be moved, removed, or swapped out. So once she does her swap, it's locked for 10 seconds, both those champions. So the other champion potentially can recover a bit. And if you make sure, if you got, again, they're going to be non-adjacent. So when they swap, they're going to be non-adjacent again, or Kira's still going to be healing. So it gives you 10 seconds of healing to try to, bring that person up but she has to tank for 10 seconds. Whew. After the time expires, they swap back regardless of whether Kira and or the other champion died during the time. This effect can only occur once every 60 seconds. So it's just an occasional, oops, you almost died. Hopefully you didn't kind of situation. Kira's ultimate, Radiance of the Phoenix. She flies up over the enemies, grasping the domain of the Phoenix, which is her prayer book. And uttering a prayer, summoning the Phoenix to rain elemental fire down upon the battlefield. This deals damage and increases the elemental fire stacks of effective enemies by 1 every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So you're going to get 5 stacks off the alt. If we hide all the familiars here and let some enemies bring in, there's her burning hands. See how it applies. You see the fire, you see the numbers on it. So we can count the number of stacks. And then we ultimate. Boom, there's the Phoenix. Look at the Phoenix. Rains down, just debuffs everything. We don't have, there's damage going on, but we don't have the Bud right now to actively kill anything. If we'd had Bud, this had been a full formation, it would have just wrecked everything. Everything on the screen would have died. Let's put a familiar back out. Let's put a different familiar back out. Let's put Grant out. Yeah. Grant hangs out with Kira. So this is the base functionality of Kira. Her gear, as a support healing champion, she's going to have 2 damage all champions items. She's going to get lesser restoration items, so that's all your healing. She's going to get an elemental fire item. There's your debuff. If you'll notice, I happily have these golden because of course I wanted the goldens for those. She's got the healing flame ability you can buff up. Again, that's fantastic. I got lucky and got a shiny on that one. And then reducing the cooldown on the ultimate, which is the usual. So no ultimate attack damage. They really are giving you 3 really good items for getting that debuff, your healing and your debuff super high. Feat-wise, she walks on big clawed feet. No. She's got the selflessness, so damage all champions. She doesn't have she does have the higher version, Inspiring Leader. I just haven't bought it. Spark of Renewal, so she's got her Lesser Restoration bonus right away. And then you can unlock the others, so she's got a higher version of Lesser Restoration. She's got an Elemental Fire, and she's got Healing Flame 25%. Generally speaking, when I'm trying to do the damage, when I'm at the point where I want to do the damages stuff with her, I'm using Obsessed with Flames and Flames of Rebirth currently. However, for what we're going to get into right now, as we said before, the amount of healing she does is what determines the amount of debuff she puts off. So, you're going to want both the healing feats for Kira. And you're going to want to slot them in when you do your Kira farming. And I'm going to demonstrate some Kira farming for everyone today. We did this on stream yesterday. We're going to do it again today. So Kira farming is when you specifically just stop and build a formation around maximizing Kira's healing. This does require certain champions. But if you are a newer player and you have Kira... one of the champions that's going to make this useful is Archon, and you have Archon as a core champion. So, not super problematic. You can use Archon. If you don't have any of these other champions that we're going to be demonstrating with, you can get away with just using Archon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put somebody else in here so you can see what the normal amount of heal is. So 188 EO4 is the normal heal. Now, why do we use Archon? Archon has a usurp feature that lets him observe healing off of another champion. We're going to put him up here where he's now. I can't put him in yet because he's going to die. Where he can observe healing off another champion and magnify it for himself. So I shouldn't use observe. He usurps because we're going to use observe it for a different person. But he sees, oh, hey, you're getting something I want, and he usurps it, takes it for himself. I have the Hand of Vecna, and that's going to cause him to take damage slowly over time It's not slowly. He takes a lot of damage quickly. You saw him almost die there. I'm going to use that here specifically so that we get a little more healing done to him. So normally if I put Archon here, as you saw, when I put him right here, he was dying. He's dying. Heal him up a little bit. But once I put someone next to him, he can take that heal from the person next to him. So as you'll see, now he's, instead of the base 1 EO4, he's getting a 4 EO6 heal, because that's how much he has usurped and boosted based off my gear and items and upgrades. So automatically, because we have Archon, we're getting a much larger heal for Akira, right? And because we chose the tail feather spec, you can see that even though, I mean, Archon is taking some damage, that's going to help with this, but really we're getting all of that EO6 is coming from the usurped over healing, right? Because Archon doesn't even have, well, he barely has EO6 health, but you can see he's not taking enough damage from the hand to really be chunking that up. So this is a better way to build your healing stacks and your orders of magnitude than just let your tanks take a lot of damage up front, right? So we're going to build this out a little more because what really makes this pop off is if we add Artemis. Artemis has an observe feature that works a lot like Archon's, where he's going to see something that someone else has and he's going to make it bigger for himself. So if you'll notice, even just back here, because he can observe anywhere in the party, even just back here, we've already got we're already up into the EO7s, right? And that means if we're healing in the EO7, she's already up into EO7, and we've got 7 orders of magnitude for our stacks, right? Now, I chose a specialization for Artemis that increases his observance if he's surrounded by DPS, for each DPS adjacent to him. So we're going to put him right in the middle of this big pot here. If you'll notice, he went from 4 EO7 up to 5 EO7 already. We're going to surround him with DPS champions. I'm going to surround him with some interesting DPS champions. I'm using magical DPS for a reason I'm about to explain. Let me just get this last one in here, or the next one in here. Forgot to level Makos up. All right. So as you can see, we're already up into the EO8s, right? I'm using magical DPS because, no, I don't want Rosie. I want Olcoria, the other older lady in slot 10. Olcoria, and this was going to happen. I get Orkira and Olcoria in the same formation, and I'm gonna get a little tongue-tied. Has an ability called Spellcaster School, and it interacts with her Watchful Order. So what we want is lots of magic base attack champions. I currently have 5 stacks. That's my minimum target, because that triggers this bonus here. 5+ stacks increase the positional formation ability effects of champions, counting towards Spellcaster School by 35% for each stack. Well, Orkira, magic base attack, so that means she's getting her heals boosted by Olcoria. And then we put a bunch of magical base attack champions in, and I'm just going to finish it off with some more of those. Let's see, we want DPS. Who else? Ah, yes, Dadius. We're going to put Dadius in. I'm going to move Makos down 1, because we're also going to bring in another champion that's going to buff up. Again, you can use any DPS for Artemis here. I'm just giving lots of boosts to Olcoria. We're going to bring in Narak. Narak has an ability called Githzerai Focus that also buffs positional formation abilities, but only for high wisdom champions. Well, guess what? Orkira's got super high wisdom. Real low int, though. She sees everything, doesn't really know what to do with the information. So, as you can see, we are up to E13 healing. Wow, that got up there quick, huh, folks? E13 healing on Artemis. Now we're going to throw in Narak. We're going to get him into his bonus phase. And it's not working? Am I bugged? I might be bugged. Anyway, Githzerai Focus, right down here. Potency formation abilities of adjacent champions with a wisdom of 14 or higher by when I'm max, 253%. Come on. There it goes. There it goes. I'm up to E16. Now, there's other ways to tweak this up a little bit higher, and obviously in a 10-man formation, you're going to get something even bigger, right? So you know, this is the version that works for fully. All right. I'm like, I swear I got higher yesterday. Why? This is the version that's going to work for a 9-man formation. Obviously, not all formation layouts are going to lend themselves to fully surrounding Artemis like this and giving you the adjacencies you need. So you really have to work with placing your formation in the best way you can and maximizing to the best of your abilities once you do this type of thing. Let's go see what we got her up to. So we're up into the E16s now. If I waited for a bit, this would get to E17 and give that 17 stacks. I mean, we're really close, right? But we don't need to get that far. What we're going to do now is I'm going to pull everybody out because these people aren't the people that we're talking about today. And I put Orkira in the back. If you'll note, this got our elemental fire debuff up to 114 E18. But we still have our healing feats in. So, we're going to swap our healing feats over to our actual damagey feats. We're going to look at this buff. What did we get up to? Are we buggy today? We're buggy today. We're super buggy today. The point is going to bring it up. It's going to bring it up higher. It's just not. It's reading 146E13. But anyway, you're going to want your damagey feats in when you go there. I should probably restart, but we're just going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep moving forward. I don't know, folks. Some days are better than others. Can I just swap a feat and make it go back up? Nope. It's just unhappy with me today. It's unhappy with me today. It worked yesterday, folks. It worked yesterday. You know what? I am going to restart real quick. Well, it may change the healings amount, but it still was reading the order of magnitude correctly. So, yeah, we'll restart. We'll see if it fixes it. Well, I have a sip of a delicious root beer on this fine Saturday. All right. So basically, once you ramp up and do your Orkira farm, then you can go back into a pushing formation, because the thing is you know, if you can't soft cap early, you're going to want to push as far as you can, get Orkira leveled up as high as possible before doing that farming. Otherwise, you're just wasting a lot of your time, right? But once you've done that, if you can soft cap, once you hit soft cap, wherever that is, you can then stop and you can Orkira farm. Okay. Nope. Man, it just reset everything. Alright. So there's a bug. There's a bug. But normally that works. Normally that works. And I could probably re-trigger it by doing some more healing. We'll see about that in a moment. But before we do that, we're going to move on. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about the next champion. Shaka. Shaka's down in slot 9. Shaka's one of the rivals of Waterdeep. He's a tiefling warlock, celestial warlock, which is pretty cool. Also healing support, but doesn't really heal. The heal is more shields, some slight shields. So let's bring Shaka in, level Shaka up, and talk about Shaka. All right, let's put Shaka in the middle. Let's put Shaka in the middle. Did that reset? Now I'm curious. Now I'm like bug fixing. There we go. Now I've got the 16 stacks back. This is still not showing correctly. Sean! Alright. So, for Shaka, base attack Eldritch Blast, because Warlock. I mean, come on. If you're a Warlock, that's kind of your bread and butter, right? So, a beam of crackling green energy shoots towards an enemy, dealing damage. We're going to hop in. Everything about Shaka is kind of built around his celestial puzzle. Shaka attempts to solve a celestial puzzle with the potential for great rewards. 4 random slots in the formation are assigned a random tag. For each champion these slots that match the slots tag, Shaka buffs the party by 100% stacking multiplicatively. So this is kind of what you're looking at. I want to make a disclaimer here real quick. If you can't, like when you're building with Shaka in your formation, you do not want to kind of damage your formation by putting in a suboptimal champion just to match a tag. That's not worth it. You also don't want to put like a non-tank in the tank line into a puzzle slot just to build Shaka's puzzle. That's like if you're just trying to get his achievement, sure, do whatever you need, but when you're actually using him, you still need to build an effective formation. You just want to make sure that you're trying to align some of the things as best as possible with Shaka's puzzle. Now, to talk a little more specifically about the types of slots, this isn't in-game, but this is from the Champion Spotlight. Tags pull from a fixed set of odds, with 2 being easy, 1 medium, and 1 hard. So the easy ones are male or non-binary, and female or non-binary. The only non-binary champion in the game currently is Warden, so they're saying basically Warden works in either slot. The medium difficulty ones are support, DPS, gold, so role-based ones. And then the harder ones are actual like lineage, so race, human, kobold, elf, dwarf, tiefling. So those are going to be the harder ones to match. So those are the kinds of things that you're going to be looking for in terms of the puzzle slots. And everything kind of, again, is going to go around this. So Celestial Resistance is the healing portion. You can tell by the little positive. Shaka adds 10 temporary health to the entire party when changing areas. This is increased by 25% for each a Celestial puzzle slot that is filled properly, stacking additively. So the heal builds around the shield, the temporary HP shield, which is considered the healing portion of this, is building around you filling this puzzle out. So let's take a look. Yeah, I'm just going to move around. I wish they showed up even when the slots are empty, but they don't. So one that we have here is an elf. Where else are the others? Female non-binary, gold, and male non-binary. Okay. So when I slot in here, you'll see that if we come over here, the Celestial Resistance, you can see, hey, we got one. So we get a bonus, and now we're up to a bunch of health, right? So that the temp HP is going to change for that. And you see now she has a slight shield. So it's not enormous, but it can get bigger. It can get bigger. That's what she said. Let's see. Feast or Famine. Shaka increases the effect of a celestial puzzle by 20% for each puzzle slot he's adjacent to. So we saw that there were, there's some here. Right, so it actually works out that by putting him here, we're adjacent to 1, 2, 3 different puzzle slots, so that's where we're going to go. Another thing to keep in mind, because that's really the only positional requirement Shaka has, is he wants to be surrounded by those. Now, when we get to specializations, this is where things are a little strange for Shaka. Really, Sunday Edition is the one you want. 5th slot in the formation is assigned a random tag, right? So we get another further potential multiplier for his bonuses. Better luck next time. Interesting. Basically, it re-rolls the slots that were chosen. I don't know that I would ever do this one, because it's one of those things where, I don't know, if you're going to use Shaka and use Shaka effectively, you need to be able to get all up to his specialization and select it early in your run, so that you can see if you do match it, if you can match it with your optimal formation. Because if you can't, you kind of want to restart your run. Not in an event, mind you, not in an event run, because event runs start tokens. But if you were doing a push in a variant and Shaka was who you needed to get through, then you're going to want to just restart if you didn't get a good setup for the 5 slots. Because, if you're going to get those bonuses, get them all, right? Get them all. So that's Sunday Edition. That's the first specialization choice. I go Sunday Edition, so I get 5 slots. Let's see where it ended up. Oh, it went up here. So another female non-binary slot. Okay. Now, second specialization choice. This affects which ultimate you get. So this is effectively kind of the specialization. And hey, it's time to get your ultimate all rolled into one. You can choose a blinding wall of light or a disintegrating wall of light. And the left is more of a defensive ultimate. The right is more of an offensive ultimate. So what do they do? Before, since it doesn't really tell you, it doesn't fully tell you here. It just tells you that it unlocks those. Well, but what does it do? It says focuses on destroying newly spawned enemy. How? Focuses on hampering the attacks of enemies. How? Not a whole lot of information here. So again, this goes back to the Champion Spotlight. I have this stuff in my guides as well. Blinding Wall of Light it pushes enemies back away from the formation, then appears near the formation and causes enemies that passes through it to miss with most of their attacks. So it's a way that you can have it push everybody away, and then as they pass back through that, they're going to stop missing. They're going to start missing their attacks on your front line. So this only works with enemies that can be pushed back and that progress up all the way through the wall. I'm going to choose this one first, and then we'll fire it off so you can see where it shows up. So it's going to be right about here. This is a bit in front, so enemies have to move all the way up into melee range to be affected by this. So it's not going to work against ranged DPS, or ranged enemies, excuse me, same thing, or fixed bosses, the kind that just sit back here and rain damage down on you. It doesn't work for either of those. You have to keep that in mind. Now we're going to go, this is shenanigans. If I pop a specialization potion, it's going to reset. I have to pick that, and then I'm going to pick disintegrating, and now my cooldown's back. So the disintegrating one, it appears close to where the enemies spawn, so the opposite side of the screen. And it can cause enemies that pass through it to instantly be killed. Notice there's a can in there. It doesn't mean it's will. Can. Enemies that aren't killed take additional damage for a short period after passing through it. So if it doesn't kill them outright, it's going to debuff them. Yes, this works on bosses. However, again, the boss has to be a boss that walks through it. If you have a positioned boss, it may not do anything because the boss isn't walking through it, right? If you have a situation where on Mad Wizard, you get the little spawner portals, this actually appears, I'm going to show you, this appears behind the spawner, so it doesn't work on anything like that. So here's the placement that comes up for the disintegrating wall. And if you'll notice in the text here, if they take at least 1% of their max health and damage, they have a 50% chance to be disintegrated and die immediately. So that's how it figures that out. And they take 100% more damage for 30 seconds if they don't die. So here's where this spawns. It is right there, folks. This is literally the point where enemies spawn in, and if they don't die instantly to that, you're going to be doing more damage to them. You're going to be doing more damage to them. So that's Shaka's ultimate. And that's the last thing I believe he gets as an ability. Let me double check. I may be wrong, but I may be right. Yep. Okay. Item-wise, damage all champions, a pair of them. He gets, obviously, a Celestial Puzzle item in Maze Brooch. And then he gets the Celestial Resistance, so this is going to boost the shields, the temp HP shields he gives. And then he's got Feast or Famine, and then his ultimate cooldown, because his ultimate doesn't really need you to, like a damage boost, right? So you can have it up quicker. When did we ultimately get his heals? Oh, we still need to boost his heals. I'm at 42 before getting more stacks. So, as we start to build more stacks, let me see. We need some female non-binary. We're going to need a gold person. Kind of just took that out of... You know what? Let's do this. Let's move here. Let's move here. That's the gold. There we go. Let's put Jarlaxle in for gold. Go in the same slot. And then we needed male, non-binary. Let's throw Warden in just to show that it should work now. Let's make sure, huh? We've already found a couple bugs today. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. What was back here? An elf. So we want to throw an elf in the back. Elf in the back. Where are my elves at? I never pay. Oh, you know what? Who's an elf? Melf. Melf's an elf. Okay, so now we're up to 5, right? We're up to 5. So we're up to an EO4 shield. So yeah, it got up there pretty good. There we go. Total temp health, EO4. Not bad. Not bad. This type of shield, because it only affects you when you change an area, it's really going to be best on those adventures where the variant version of them says you're going to take X damage every second while progressing. Because then you're going to get it when you load in, and the damage will eat through the shield, and then hopefully you move to the next level before it gets all the way through the shield, and then you just refresh your shield. So that's kind of the best use for this shield, because it's not something that's going to apply on any other trigger other than changing areas. So it's just kind of a bonus up there up front, unlike Calliope's, that Calliope can reset hers regularly, right? Yeah, and you can see how the multipliers work here. We get a total bonus of EO4 by having him adjacent to 4 of them. And he ends up with an EO9 overall Celestial Puzzle. Now Feats, you get increase all damage. You can buff the healing effect, which I did. We get the 30% version, the higher version, and the 40% Celestial Puzzle. He also gets the higher Inspiring Leader, and then another 40% for Feast or Famine. So if you wanted to go all in on those kind of bonuses and not have a bonus on the shield, you would want Celestial Positioning with Puzzle Savant, effectively. And that is Shaka from the Rivals of Waterdeep. Who do we have next? We have Mahen. Yay! I like Mahen. Mahen's right here. Slot 3. He is the father of the Brimstone Angels, Frida and Havilar. Adoptive father. Obviously, he's a Dragonborn. Mahen, let's just get this out of the way real quick. Mahen is going to be at his best and really, functional with his daughters. Mahen exists to help his daughters out as a father. As a father, that's just his role. That is his role in this game too. So if you don't have Farida and or Havilar, Mahen's not going to really show up very well for you in your formation. He can fit in and he can help out as best he can, but one of his abilities, which we're going to see here, his core ability is really built around his daughters and his gold fund. He's a support gold champion. His gold really only happens if you've got Farida as your DPS. So they went all in on making a very niche champion that's specifically about working with these other two champions. So he is a Dragonborn fighter. Again, support gold. So he's just going to be kind of bounced around in your formation for reasons. He has some positional stuff. We'll go over that. But Double Strike is his base attack. Leaps out and attacks a random enemy, swinging down and then up, scoring a hit each time. So that does mean that on segmented barricades and enemies, he's going to take 2 chunks out. So hit-based stuff. And then his ultimate is Lightning Breath, and we're going to go over that in a bit because it interacts with one of his abilities. And it's really why you want to use his Lightning Breath. Grumpy. Mahen buffs the DPS of champions in his column and all columns in front of him. So this means you want him... Ideally, you want him as far back as possible. That's not always going to be possible, though, and we're going to talk about that. This buff is highest at 50 stacks, falling off sharply beyond 10 stacks on either side, because you can get up to 100 stacks. And you see he's got this little meter. So they tell you visually where's the best place for him to be. You want him in the red zone. That's going to be where he does. Now, if we come back here, we'll get to that. Hold on. We'll get to how he gains stacks. Oh, they don't put it in here. Again, you're going to have to go to the guide They don't put all this information here. So let's talk a little more about Grumpy and how he gains his stacks, because this is the question that always gets asked about Mahen, is how do I position him so that his meter is actually in the red? So the column position you put him in determines the rate at which his stacks are added. So if he's in the front column, he gets plus 1 stack per second. If he's in the back column, he gets plus 5 stacks per second. So he gets far more when he's in the back than he's in the front. And this transitions through this. So if I move it here, we're going to get, you'll notice the meter went up because now we're gaining stacks more often. If I put him back here, it's going to tick up again because we're gaining stacks more often. It's going to go way up into the danger zone here and into the blue because now we're way back. Like, it's just going to keep going and going and going. And if we put it back here, it's just going to peg out. It's going to peg all the way out. So if you don't have Farida and Havilar in, he's going to need to be closer to the front. Not necessarily all the way in the front like I'm doing here, but he's going to need to either be in your front, he's probably going to need to be in your second column, which means your DPS would have to be in your second column. But we'll get into how this moves around on this next bit. Stacks are removed based off the actions of Mahen, Farida, or Havilar. So right now he's losing stacks based on his own actions, but if he has more, if he has Farida and or Havilar in, he's going to lose more stacks. So this is how you make up for how much he's gaining by moving him back, right? So if any of them attack, you lose 10% stacks per attack. Now, an attack is the actual attack animation, moving out or throwing out your flames or whatever. That's the actual attack. It's not per hit. It's just per attack, 10%. If any of them take damage, lose 10% of stacks. There's a 4-second shared cooldown on that, so it only triggers every 4 seconds, but that's another 10% loss. This is important because Havilar is a tank, so that's a way that if they're hitting Havilar, you're losing stuff. All of them obviously have base attacks, so they can all lose 10% per attack. But this is also good in, again, those aforementioned variants where everyone in the party is taking damage. That's going to help auto-manage Mahen. Or if any of them get a kill with a base attack, they lose 5% of stacks. That's for each kill. So, reductions on base attacks, on taking damage, and on kills. Building up is based off where they are in the formation. So this is how you manage it. We're gonna bring, we're gonna peg them out. We're gonna put them all the way back here. I'm gonna bring in Farida, and I'm gonna bring in Havilar. And you're gonna watch. Before we were solidly at the top of the blue back there. Now we're gonna be further up and balancing a little bit. In fact, if we move these out, we let them actually get some base attacks off, you're going to see it get managed real quick. And now we're in the nice red phase where he's giving the massive grumpy buff, right? Javi's going to be taking attacks, and we can actually move him back a little bit. And this is kind of optimal situation for them in this regard, right? Let's bring the imps out. Okay, so Gruff, they're going to die in the background because Frida doesn't have enough support to do damages. Gruff, Mahen increases the effect of his grumpy buff on champions based on how many columns ahead of him they are. Starts at 100% and is doubled for each additional column. So right now, if we go over here and we look at like Grumpy, you can watch the stacks over here. But again, they give you the visual, and that's really the best thing. But it does tell you how many per second, which is nice. And here is a breakdown of how they lose stuff and gain stuff, if you don't want to look in the guides. But here's Gruff. So we don't get a bonus here. It doesn't tell us how much we're getting. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. They need to add that. Exiled. Kills by Frida, Havilar, or Mahen grant more gold. So this is the gold feature. Notice, you do not get gold if anyone other than these three are killing. And at your wall, that means Farida's going to be the only one getting you any gold. So if you're not using Farida DPS, the gold feature of Mahen does not kick in. Because the DPS bonuses you get earlier when everyone can kill, or I mean the gold bonuses, not as big of a deal. And then the Brimstone Angels increases the effect of Grumpy by 1% if Farida's in the formation, and another % if Havilar is in the formation, and they stack multiplicatively. So I'm getting a much bigger Grumpy bonus because I have both of them in than I would have otherwise, right? So this is just trying to maximize Grumpy. Grumpy is currently like in the EO5, but I'm not fully leveled up. So let's look at the specialization choices. We've got Cheer Up Pops, and we've trained for this as they get overrun on the screen. Cheer Up Pops increases the rate at which Grumpy stacks are added. This is that tells you right away this is a specialization choice you only want to make if you've got both Farida and Havilar in, and probably, you know, if he's not all the way in the back, right? Because you're giving him even more stacks, and it's increased by 1 no matter what column he is. So it also increases the effect of Grumpy by 400%. So this is a big multiplier, but it comes with a big price. So you got to make sure it's worth it. We've trained for this increases gold, so increases the effect of exiled based on how far from the front of the formation Mahen is placed. Effect is increased by 20% for each column, stacking multiplicatively, right? So this is the gold boost. Again, only if you've got Farida or Havilar does he get the gold, but if you're not using Farida and Havilar, you may want to choose this anyway, just so you don't get the bonus stacks, because that may be problematic. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to try out where it works best. And see. I'm going to go for the gold. Da-da-da-da. So you can see he's still managed well in the middle by putting him back that far. We're going to need some help to clear this formation out, though. So maybe we'll move him up and we'll add some more Kira. And maybe some Shaka back in. And as you can see, his meter is now self-managing because I'm using both of his daughters, and I've positioned him well in the formation. It's going to sit in the right place for the work. What did that get him up to? EO7. So again, this is kind of a flavor thing. We definitely, if you like the Brimstone Angels, then you build out a full Brimstone Angels formation. This was the specialization choice we made. It doesn't have anything else after that. So his, we are going to talk about Lightning Breath. Lightning Breath is another way, if you're not using Farida or Havilar, and you want to go that left spec to get the most amount out of Grumpy, then you want to keep a familiar on his Lightning Breath. Because with his ultimate, he leaps forward and breathes a cone of lightning that damages all enemies on the screen. If he damages more than 5 enemies, then his Grumpy stacks are set to 50, and he gains and loses stacks at 10% of the normal rate for 30 seconds. So this basically locks him in for 30 seconds into that perfect balance. So you get 30 seconds, you know, with a cooldown. My cooldown's down to 90%, or 90 seconds, but I've got his epic with a lot of item levels on it. So right now, a third of the time I can lock him into kind of that best position. I've turned off some of the graphics, so this may not look as cool as it does with the full graphical effect, but here's what his ultimate looks like. Oh yeah, no, they fixed it. Looked pretty cool. So that hit a bunch of them. As you can see, his indicator is now pretty much locked in place. It's not bouncing around anymore. So there's the other way. You keep Mahen in line, per se. So even if you're not using them. Oh yeah, we were going to bring... We were using Grant. Kill them all off, Grant. Okay, so that is Mahen. His gear increased damage of all champions because he's support, right? He gets a Grumpy item, he gets a Gruff item, and he gets an Exile item. Remember, this is the gold one. So they're really going all in on buffing Grumpy here with 2 that are going to affect that. And then he gets the cooldown reduction on the ultimate, which is ideal because you want to do that as often as possible. He gets damage all champions. You can buff Grumpy by varying amounts. He's just got a straight gold find one. You can just slot this in, even though he doesn't have, if you don't have Farida or Havilar in, You can at least slot in the plus 25% gold, and he functions as a gold champion in that way, but that's not a huge bonus. But it's, you know, it's nothing to sneeze at. We get an exiled boost, we get the Brimstone Angels boost, and he also gets the upgraded damage all champions if you want that one first. If you want that one first. So that's it through Mahen. Next up, we're going to talk Celise. So that means we are going to take out the rest of the Brimstone Angels. We'll move Mahen up because, you know, we can't manage his stacks from back there. And let us talk about Celise, the human paladin. She's going to come in from slot 12 all the way down here. Another member of the Rivals of Waterdeep. Coming in with that sword and board. Gotta love it. That's my kind of tank. Alright. Celise. Lawful neutral, tanking support. Overwhelm starts out kind of low. But, you know, she's got other stuff going for her. Sword and board, well, base attack is going to change. Base attack is going to change. So I'm going to talk about that as we talk about the ability. But you start out with sword and board aggressive, attacks the nearest enemy and bashes them, stunning them for 2 seconds. Right, so that's nice. Right off the bat, Divine Sense. Increase the damage of champions in the 2 columns behind her by 1%. But then gets a lot of little bonuses. You see, like, there's some stances going on. And we're going to talk about how that affects. So right away, aggressive. Champions affected by Divine Sense have their base attack cooldowns reduced by ½ a second. That's what you start off in automatically. That's what you start off in automatically. She gets this ultimate that's going to switch her stances. That's how her ultimate works. We're going to talk about that. So aggressive, basically faster attacking. Wall. Champions in the same column as Celise take 25% less damage from melee attacks. So this is a stance for if you have a tank line with multiple tanks in it. They're going to get more survivable, right? 25% less damage from melee attacks. Deflect. Champions affected by Divine Sense take 25% less damage from ranged and magical attacks. Now keep in mind, this is affected by Divine Sense. So this is the 2 columns behind her. So this is a way to protect your other columns from enemies that might be doing ranged and magical damage to your whole party. Valindra? There's one for you. So this is another way to help people survive. There's also some dragons that you fight that breathe fire. Like, this is going to help keep those other lines behind you more survivable in the deflect stance. Last resort, the final phase, Celise's overwhelm point is increased by 15. So this is a way you can bump up her overwhelm, so it's much higher. If she's your only tank and she needs a higher overwhelm, there you go. Shield of Psychomancy, while an aggressive stance, so this is aggressive stance only. Celise will toss her shield in an arc targeted at the farthest enemy every 4th attack. So ranged attack every 4th attack. It deals damage and stuns all enemies hit for 2 seconds. So this means it's going to sweep out. If it goes through a bunch of enemies, it's going to stun and deal damage to them. Everyone that it hits. The effect of Divine Sense is increased for each enemy hit, stacking additively, until she attacks with the Shield of Psychomancy again or changes stances. So this is a way to keep a nice, as enemies build up, it's a way to give you a nice large bonus when you're in aggressive stance. Let's watch and see. We should see the shield pop out. There's their basic melee. Come on. We gotta wait. There it goes. It threw it out real quick, swooped through like the first 4, and then went back and stunned them all. Super fast animation, but it's there. So, Vow of Vengeance. So while not in aggressive stance, Celise increases the effect of Divine Sense by 1% for each enemy attacking her, stacking additively. So this is the other way she can do a ramping buff. So the first one is just by hitting lots of enemies with the shield. The other is by actually being attacked by lots of enemies. Thunderous Smite when switching from last resort to aggressive stance. So that's going all the way through the swaps and then coming back around again. So through the 4 phases and then coming back around to the first. Celeste channels the divine power of Tyr and attacks a random enemy with her sword, dealing Bud-based AoE damage and Bud-based chain lightning damage from the enemy struck to 5 nearby enemies. This effect can only trigger every 180 seconds. So, her ultimate switches her stance. So since she doesn't have a damage ultimate, they made a Bud-based ability on a timer like an ultimate that's based off you switching through your ultimate. So this is effectively what people would normally consider her ultimate, but her real ultimate is just swapping stances. Because you can do this, it's a 4-second cooldown to swap stances. You can swap through quickly, which makes Celeste great for patron challenges that want you to fire off like 150 ultimates. You can do it real quick if you want with this. But a Thunderous Smite is effectively an ultimate, but it's based in an ability. So this was an interesting thing to see. It makes her a bit unique. Now, her specializations are also kind of unique. She has 4 spec choices, but Gar, we only see 3 here. Well, that's because it's going to give you another choice again. Whatever you pick in this first one won't be there and will be replaced by the 4th one. So you get to pick 2 of the 4. These are the first 3 choices. Relentless Avenger. When in wall stance, Celeste cannot be stunned. Any enemy that attempts to stun her is stunned itself for 4 seconds. So this is great if you're fighting enemies that do stuns in a variant. She won't be stunned, but they will, right? Fantastic. Reflective Shield. While in deflect stance, Celeste can deflect ranged and magical projectiles back at the enemies that shot or cast them, completely negating their damage and dealing 6 seconds of Bud-based damage. This is like Rosie Beestinger 2.0. So if you're dealing with lots of ranged enemies, Reflective Shield, because it's basically going to protect and take that. They're going to try to hit her, and instead they're going to take the damage. Fantastic. Another fantastic ability, defensive ability. Mithral Skin. While in last resort stance, so that's the one with the 30 that brings her up to 30 overwhelm, Celeste takes reduced damage the further her health falls below 80%. So this is just another way to, as she's taking damage, make her more and more durable. Again, these are very specific. So this Relentless Avenger against enemies that stun. Reflective Shield if you have lots of ranged enemies. Mithral Skin is just kind of the generic, well, I don't know if I'm having any of these, I just want generic damage resistance. You can go Mithral Skin, right? But if you can specializing with her is the better option. It's just more powerful than the Mithral Skin. Tyr's Eyes is the final option you're going to be given. You notice it took the... Hopped in, you still get Relentless Avenger, Reflective Shield, but now you have Tyr's Eyes. Increases the range of Divine Sense to affect 3 columns behind Celeste rather than just 2. So normally this would just affect this column and this column. But with the other one, it's going to go all the way back here. This is great on, say, Tomb of Annihilation, where there are only 3 columns behind Celeste. That means it would protect everyone with that stance, with the Divine Sense. Which, again, Divine Sense protection triggers lots of things. So, again, Celeste would be pretty solid in Tomb of Annihilation. I'm going to go ahead and pick that one while I lose my voice. Right. Boom. Fully leveled up. So as you see, Mithral Skin, then into Tyr's Eyes. Protect the Party comes in at 200. This is the general tank health share. So you get that. It's just pretty high up there at 200. So keep that in mind. She's not going to give you that bonus until she's pretty far into her level upgrades. She gets damage to all champions. A pair of them. She gets health. Yeah, you're a tank. You need a health item if you're going to be tanking. She gets her Divine Sense, right? Buffs Shield of Psychomancy. Buffs Vow of Vengeance. What's that? No ultimate-based stuff? No, because her ultimate is just swapping stances. So there's no need for a cooldown or a bonus for that. Because, again, Thunderous Smite is effectively her ultimate. So they're buffing Divine Sense, Shield of Psychomancy, Vow of Vengeance. So all of her abilities. So what do they do about Thunderous Smite? This is where it's unique. There is a feat over here that reduces the cooldown of Thunderous Smite by 40%. So effectively, there is a feat that can reduce her ultimate cooldown, even though it's not, it's what we're going to call her ultimate, even though her actual ultimate is the swapping stances. So you can get Thunderous Smite off more often if you choose this, if that's the way you want to go. But she has a lot of options, so she has the All Champs damage option, Divine Sense, Vow of Vengeance, Shield of Psychomancy, Relentless Avenger. You get the other one, and then Divine Sense, Vow of Vengeance at higher levels. So you can really specialize. Celise is a very tank that specializes. That's what you want. You want to put her in for very specific circumstances, and then you can go all in on those circumstances. So she just doubles down on all that. So as we rotate through, you'll see the icon that tells you which stance she's in. So this is wall stance. There is... I lose the name already. Come on, Gaarawarr. Deflect. That's deflect, and then this is what last resort looks like. See, it's prepping. It's prepping that thunderous smite, right? So when we swap, it goes off right over there. Just wrecked fools. And then she's back in aggressive stance. So you can see very easily what stance she's in. Okay, that's 4 of our 5. We got 1 more to go. Ooh, this went long today. We've got champions in this quarter that are very detailed and need a lot of conversation. So let's head to the most recent champion, and that's Sergeant Knox. Sergeant Knox joins us from Neverwinter. He's in slot 6, which is a very competitive slot. So the Sergeant Knox is going to be great for newer players. Because the more veteran players are probably going to have higher competing champions in this slot, right? Sergeant Knox looks so good with that big battle axe. So battle axe is his base attack. Sergeant Knox swings his enormous battle axe through the nearest group of enemies. Hold up. I forgot to talk about how Celise's base attack changes when we rotate through the ultimates. I knew I was forgetting something. So again, I'm gonna swap using my hotkeys. So sword and board is the aggressive. Celise attacks the nearest enemy and bashes them, stunning for 2 seconds. When I swap with ultimates, sword and board wall, Celise attacks the nearest enemy and takes 25% less damage for 5 seconds. This is a good, nice defensive situation for her, especially against a single enemy like a boss, right? Sword and board deflect. Celise attacks the nearest enemy and damages all enemies in a small AoE. And then last resort, Celise attacks the nearest enemy, damages and knocks back all enemies in a small AoE. So she has some highly functional... Not only is she very specialized in what she does, she has some highly functional base attacks depending on what stance you put her in. And then it just rotates back to aggressive when you go through the ultimate again. Okay. Man, I knew I was forgetting something. These champions got so much going on. And then we get to Sergeant Knox, and he's real straightforward. That's why we saved him for last. Sergeant Knox swings his enormous battle axe through the nearest group of enemies, so you get an AoE. And then break the line. If we come down here, boom. Sergeant Knox swings his axe in an arc, knocking nearby enemies back, damaging and stunning them for 2 seconds. He then, that's not enough, apparently. He then leaps at a random enemy and swings his axe in an overhead blow, dealing even more damage and stunning enemies in the area for 5 seconds. It's just not enough. It's not enough that he goes out and stuns him. Then he's got to just stun him again. So double stun incoming. Here we go. Boom, knockback, and then jumps. And he hit this one back here. If they'd all been up here, it would have then stunned that group again, which is just so fantastic. I love crowd control like that. So basic upgrade ability. The first one, increase the damage, rallying cry. Increase the damage of champions in the columns behind Sergeant Knox by 100% for each positional formation ability affecting them, stacking additively and including this one. This is his kit, folks. It's basically rallying cry. And it's queued around positional formation abilities. We were talking about those earlier, right? With when we were doing our Kira farming with Artemis and Archon, and how they usurp and observe positional formation abilities. So anything that is a positional formation ability, so that references something in a column or something adjacent or non-adjacent, all of those things hitting, say, your DPS, the more of those positional formation abilities you put on your DPS, Sergeant Knox then buffs that even more by each one that they're doing. And he tracks the number He should be tracking the number. So that you get a lot. It's going to show up on the actual DPS when I go over to look. Who do we got? Who do we got going on? Let's say Shaka. You go under formation buffs. You go under incoming effects, and you look for rallying cry. There we go. So 3. We got 3 of them here. Ends up with a total bonus of 7,200. So the more you get, the bigger it's going to get. Now remember, starting off, this is an additive thing. Keep that in mind. Multiplicative is usually what's super powerful, but in this case, additive is fine. And the next ability, Blessed by Selûne, because Knox is from Neverwinter. Oh, I'm dying because I didn't put the thing back out. Because Knox is from Neverwinter, that means he's friends with Celeste and Makos. We're also from Neverwinter. If Blessed by Selûne, if affected by Celeste's Mass Cure Wounds, Sergeant Knox takes 25% less damage from all attacks, excluding an attack that would instantly kill him. So this is a way to use Sergeant Knox with Celeste and make him even more durable, beyond just the healing she's giving him. Hero of Neverwinter is his health share, so 25%, pretty standard. He does start with a 25 Overwhelm, again, pretty standard. Human fighter. Tanking support. Allies of Convenience. If adjacent to Makos, the effects of Rallying Cry and Makos' Dark Blessing are increased by 200%, so tripled. So adjacent to Makos, so that's gonna buff both Makos and Rallying Cry, so that makes everything bigger when you're using Makos with Sergeant Knox. Let me go into his spec choices. Explosive Rally. Rallying Cry now stacks multiplicatively, with buffs applying to the post-stack value, but its base percentage is decreased to 35%. So there's a trade-off here. So before we were getting 100%, but stacking additively. And if you choose this, you get 35%, but it stacks multiplicatively. So when I tested this personally, and demonstrated on stream, I found if I was using Celeste and Makos, the breakpoint was around, you needed at least 8. You needed at least 8 positional abilities to be able to use Explosive Rally and have the damage be about the same. Other people are saying in their tests that it was 11. So keep in mind that it is you need a lot of positional formation abilities to overcome the drop from 100% to 35% and make it worth it to use Explosive Rally. So know how many, before you're going to need to know how many positional formation abilities you're getting before choosing, explosive over the base. Altruistic Rally increases the effect of Celeste, Crusader's Mantle, and Makos' Dark Blessing abilities by 100% each. So obviously you're only using this if you're using Celeste and Makos with him. So very situational. Otherwise, Shield Wall increases the max health of Sergeant Knox by 50%. He's already a tank. He already gets a lot of health. They're going to give him 50% more health and make him super tanky. So if you're just going to go with the base rally and you're not using Celeste and Makos, then Shield Wall is your choice. Shield Wall is your choice. And we're going to just pick that here. Because I don't have Celeste and Makos in here. And we're just demonstrating, so. I still am missing his health item, unfortunately. So I can't get him to super high levels of health. But he's up there still. So there was the Shield Wall focus. And then you'll see there's nothing else. That's it. So everything, like I said, everything is about Rallying Cry and positional formation abilities. So he comes in, he's very straightforward. He's just he wants to be in the front because he's a tank. And as long as you're using lots of positional formation abilities, he's just going to make the formation better because of that, right? So items, damage all champs, health, Rallying Cry. That's it. Then you get ultimate attack damage and ultimate attack cooldown, because Rallying Cry is really the core of his kit. That's really all that's going on. So he only has one item that really buffs his abilities. Feat wise, Inspire, you get the increased self damage from Selfless and Inspiring Leader. You get health from Tough and Resilient. So if you really want to max out his health, it's there. You get Rallying Cry bonus, multiple, right? 20%, 40%. And then you up his intelligence score. Well, why are you upping his intelligence score? He qualifies for 3 out of the 4 patrons automatically. He doesn't qualify for Strahd. Strahd needs a 13 int, and he's 12. So they gave us friends in high places so that he can go and help you out in Strahd's quests as well. That's it. That's all of our champions for 2021. Part 2. Did I forget anything? I think I got everything. I think that's all. Yeah. So we're going to take a short break, a little musical interlude. When I come back, I'm going to hit all those questions that you've been asking. Jay and Martin have been putting in a document. I got them up here. There's a couple dozen of them already. So I'm going to review those when we get back. And then we'll just do general Q&A for the rest. Okay? Back in a moment.
And if it can't be either, then I'll toast you in the grave. I'm hanging with the phoenix as you travel across the land, thwarting lots of evil with the cast of burning hand. So let's take it one problem at a time. If we're there together, there's no mountain we won't climb. So gather around the fire, my friends, and sing another line. Let's celebrate together till we all run out of rhymes. Hey! I'll catch you with my wings, and when it gets real dire, I'll devour all the things. My friends are like marshmallows, flammable and sweet. I try hard not to burn them when I'm bringing home the heat. Then we'll take it one problem at a time. If we're there together, there's no mountain we won't climb. We gather around the fire, my friends, and sing another line. Let's celebrate together till we all run out of rhymes. Travel, I've been to many lands. We can even go right now, just let me grab my pants. I'll follow you through danger and heal you with the spell. And if we stick together, everything will turn out swell. Then we'll take care of a problem at a time. If we stand together, there's no mountain we won't climb. So gather around the fire, my friends, and sing another line. Let's celebrate together till we all run out of rhymes. Hey! And traveling the plains, always fighting evil and easing all your pains. I'm helping out the heroes and the be at peace. One day we'll be happy and all will be at ease. Then we'll take it one problem at a time. If we're there together, there's no mountain we won't climb. So gather around the fire, my friends, and sing another line. Let's celebrate together till we all run out of rhymes. Then we'll take it one problem at a time. If we're there together, there's no mountain we won't climb. It's been a lot of fun here, but now it's time to go. I'll come back again tomorrow and be on another show.
So good. That was Orkira's song, One Problem at a Time. And we're going to take it one question at a time now. Look at that segue. I'm getting good at this, folks. Let's look up in the document and see what we going on. Lots of general questions, probably before we started going into stuff. I think this question is about Orkira farming, so that's how I'm going to address it. Is it then possible, Dark Shadow 1009, is it then possible to stack that buff with just 2 champions? Yeah. You can use Orkira and you can use Archon, and if you don't have any of the others, that's going to be fine. It's just not going to, obviously you're not going to get as high. But that's the case with most things in this game, right? Like, the more champions that fit into some situational niche, the better you're going to do. Better you're going to do. So you do what you can with what you got, right? It's just like Azaka farming. When you unlock Azaka for the first time, the only other gold champions that may assist you in earning money, you may only have Brunor and Jarlaxle. You may have skipped Drizzt, right? So you can still Azaka farm with Brunor and Jarlaxle, but, you know, is it better with a lot more gold find champions? Yes. Yes, it is. Who has priority if you have Orkira and Baloth in the party? I'm not sure what this means. Mr. Blonde 42. Oh, you mean for I know what that means. So Baloth has an ability where his Jinn Najim will save the life of someone when they're about to die. That triggers first. That triggers first. So Najim will protect first, so that you can get your Jinn stack. And only if they're about to die after that will Orkira then jump in and save them. We did a lot of this on my stream on Thursday. Ooh, we were trying to stack gen stacks, and don't like it. I don't like it, but it's there. Chrono Alarm, did you choose both healing feats for the debuff here? Yeah, when I was stacking the healing, I chose both the healing feats. You just want to boost the healing up as much as possible. And you noticed, as people noticed, we ran into a little bug there. That's the first time I ran into that bug. Yeah, but it happened. But yeah, I swap in both of these when I want to do the healing stacking. I changed it again. Well, it was going to because I removed that, but is it going to bring it back up? Probably not. But yeah, ideally in a bug-free world, you would do the healing ones first, and then you'd switch over to the actual bonus ones. This number should be much higher because I've got 16 stacks. Did I change Rakira's feat? Is that's why it's lower today? No, it's just a bug, Kevin. So when looking at celestial puzzle slots for Shaka, half-elves don't count as elves or humans? Blip, blop, bloop. No, they don't, because they're neither. They're half-bloods. They're half-bloods, so they would have their own tag, half-blood, if that was something that was going to come into play. You'll see this with other champions with specializations. But yeah, any kind of like a half-orc and a half-elf, they're their own thing. They're not an orc or an elf or a human. Anymore. Oh, that got doubled. Double question. No. Gaarawarr, why do you try to do this? You're not the one that's supposed to work in the document. There we go. Mahen seems like a lot of work to manage. Is the bonus worth it? If you don't have Farida and Havilar, no. And even if you do, sometimes maybe not. It's going to depend on the situation. The thing about this game is that, and we were talking about this yesterday, there are almost 200 base variants in the game, not counting event variants. So that's going to add, what? We have 80 champions. Each of them has 3 variants. So that adds another 240, 250 more variants just for that, for events. Of the base variants, of the almost 200 base variants, there's also 4 patrons who have patron variant versions of those. So there's almost, there's at least 1,250 different types of variants in this game. And by variants, I mean different sets of qualifications you might have to meet while doing an adventure. There's going to be situations where Mahen is going to be who you need to use, and you need to know how to use him. So he is going to. There are going to be times where he's going to be your best choice. And sometimes with champions, it's because there isn't any other choices available to you, because the variant restrictions and the patron restrictions have combined to limit you incredibly. And that's why personally I say learn all the champions, understand their use situationally as you unlock them. Make sure they're decently geared so that when you use them, if you're already at a disadvantage because you're not using your very best favorite champion, you want to make sure that they can step in and fill that role, right? Don't the items boost Grumpy once? Oh, wait, where's Mahen? This one buffs Grumpy, right? But Gruff increases Grumpy, so this one also buffs Grumpy, right? So Gruff literally is just increasing the effect of the Grumpy buff. So he has 2 items that affect Grumpy. The one for straight 4 Grumpy, and then Gruff as well. What's it got? Any more? What's the preferred ultimate for Shaka? My wife and I keep debating this. Oof. Whatever she says. Whatever she says. The Disintegrate would seem better, but mid-battle Wall of Light is maybe more practical. It kind of depends. It depends on what situation you're going into and what you're facing. If you just want a chance to just nuke something the instant it comes out, Disintegrating. Where is this going to be a coward? Hey, no, I'm not coward. I'm just smart. There's this, I will tell you the one situation I will choose the disintegration chance every time. And that's against the Devourer. If you have not, Mars is in chat. Mars was in chat. He can back me up on this if he's still here. When you face the Devourer, any chance you have to instantly destroy it, you want to take. You want to take. Because the Devourer walks out, all ugly and horrible abomination looking self, eats one of your champions in one bite. One bite. He doesn't even have to come all the way out. He doesn't even get to where the mage hand is. He walks out, winds up, swallows someone whole. So if you don't kill him before he swallows someone whole, you're done. You're not going to have the damage to kill him after that, right? So yeah. So in that case, situations like that, the disintegration, please. There's also like a cannon. Oh, the pirate with the cannon. There's a cannon that basically one-shots things. And if you don't kill the cannon before it fires, you're also toast. So if it works on the cannon, I mean, I'm going to take my chance with the disintegration thing on the cannon. Now, if I'm to the point where I know the only time I'm going to have trouble is when I get towards the end, and I know that my enemies are going to walk up and be hitting me in the face. Like, say, in this event, with Zeriel. Zeriel walks up and hits you in the face real hard. Giving Zeriel a chance to miss by using the defensive one? The blinding one? Sure, yeah, take it, right? So it's very situational. Yeah, I hate that cannon. The cannon and the Devourer. They're DPS checks. They're pure DPS checks. Do you have the DPS to clear the screen of all the trash mobs and one-shot the boss effectively? If not, go back and farm. Reset. Try again. I was using Baloth and Arkira this morning. Arkira was triggering first, getting the gen buff, then losing the buff when she switched back. Interesting. We were doing this the other day on my stream. I wasn't seeing that happen. So keep in mind, you can move, if it is happening, you can move Arkira around in the formation so that she is right behind the front line and adjacent to the people that are getting killed. And then she won't swap with them because she only swaps with non-adjacents. So when do we get the Devourer with a cannon as a boss fight? No! Oh, Mars woke up and chose aggression today. Mars chose aggression today. Oh, man. I do not remember when the Devourer is coming. I'm just going to mention that. But you can look that up. Okay, back to the top. Here we go. Question about your BABLG. Question about your Ashara formation the other day. I saw you swapping out Ayla for Mahen during boss levels. Just wondering if there was a debuff or buff effect. I cannot figure out why it works for the boss levels. Hopefully, you remember during the hot swaps. Oh yeah. So I love when I can pull it off, swapping Ayla and Mahen. Because Ayla applies a debuff to enemies as they walk out on the screen. She does it, and then as she attacks, it can change it. It can chain around, and then her ultimate can set everything. And once you've got that debuff placed, so on a boss level, you know you've already applied it to everyone. If you're not using her to tank, because that would be a bad swap, you can then swap in Mahen. I do to Mahen. Technically, you can swap in anyone that's going to then give you a straight up buff. And then you get the benefits of the debuff and the buff. I choose Mahen because Mahen has a very large buff in certain situations. So I tend to go with that. I've also farmed my Mahen up fairly high. So yeah, that's why I do the swap. Now, if you are in a tank position, instead, you can swap Ayla for Lazaps, and you would get Ayla's debuff and Lazap's buff. So anytime you have what I refer to as a lingering debuff, you can pull off hot swaps with that. And usually you want to do it in the same slot if they're tanking, but you don't have to. Like Warden you can put in and you can stack up his Hex debuff, and then you can bring in Avrin and let Avrin just do his mirror images, and you get the best of both worlds. How do you complete a retired champion's achievement? I don't know why people refer to this as, I guess maybe CNE called it retiring, but they're not retired. It's not like they went off to a farm and don't get used anymore. These are now time gate champions in my mind, and if you want to do an achievement for a time gate champion, like if we come in here and we look at this event, Deacon, who everyone should have just unlocked. Everyone should have just unlocked because they put this code, I'm putting it in chat. Oh, no, I screwed it up. There's a D there. There, Deacon Kobold. If you put that into the game and you don't have Deacon, you get Deacon. They gave that away on Critical Role the other day. So you get Deacon for Founders Day, and you're like, well, how do I do his achievements? Well, first off, the 175 one, it just says complete area 175 in any Party Crashers free play. So you just have to do a free play and pass 175. You'll get that. Doomed Equipment, well, if you have Deacon, you unlocked him. Obviously, you got this one. Doomed Equipment, you just got to gear him up. Well, you can do that with Electrum chests now. So that can be done anywhere. Consistent Pacing is his specific achievement for ability-based stuff. Maintain Story of Doom at higher than 4 stacks, but less than 11, blah, blah, blah. You can do this anywhere. You can do this at any time. You don't have to do it in an event. The only thing that is more difficult to do is the one that says complete all 3 variants. Well, in every time gate that you do for this champion, you're given 1 variant. So the first time you do it, there's 1 variant. They're going to give you 1 of the 3 randomly. The next time you do it, they're going to give you 1 of the 2 that you haven't done yet. And the third time you do it, because there's only 1 left you haven't done, it's going to give you that one automatically. So you've got to go 3 time gates for time gate champions to do their stuff. So everything can still be done. It just requires you doing multiple time gates. And you would do that anyway. You would do that anyway, because if you didn't get this champion, you didn't get Deacon from that code, you would just go do a time gate to unlock Deacon. Well, there's 1 down and 1 credit on this, and that's not going to be enough gear for him. So you would still go back, maybe potentially at a later date, and do more time gates to get him more gear. And that's going to ultimately get your variant version done. Everything else can be done outside of a time gate. That's the only one that has to be done in the time gate. Dark Shadow, how to become better at the game without spending money. Play it. Read through guides on the subreddit. There's an entire page on the wiki that Mars set up. Gar has a page on that wiki, but so does Silisa. So there's another resources that has lots of other players that contributed guides. I've seen multiple new guides come up recently from other players, and they're worth your time reading. I don't know if they've been added to other resources yet, but I'm sure they will be. So yeah, read there. Go to the Discord. There's a resources channel where people post their guides. There's also the new player channel where people answer questions. You can just ask questions on Discord, and then you can come to streams like this one. But ultimately, it's just going to take you playing the game, spending some time with it, and learning what's going on to get better. I want this and Griff. Which one champion should we use as often as possible, and why? I mean, there are obviously, there's multiple different ways to answer this. Obviously, you want to use your best champions whenever you can, but your best champions are very subjective, especially when you're new, because even if they're supposedly an overpowered champion, if you don't have gear for them, they may not be for you. You're also going to want to look at what champions do you have and how do they interact? Like, do they interact well together? Yeah. Now, are there certain champions that are incredibly strong? Sure. We talked about Orkira today. Orkira is incredibly strong. So's Avrin. So's Krull when you're first starting out. So's Ayla. I think Ayla's a fantastic tank. She's my go-to at endgame. Ashara, who you get base, is one of the is the best DPS in the game if you can meet all of her qualifications. So again, subjective. There's a lot of champions like that. So you got to keep that in mind. Freely in the current event, Freely's fantastic. Deacon, that you just got for free, is a great speed champion, but again, that's subjective. Like, he's great if you want speed. You know, so there's a lot of subjectivity to trying to answer that question. Because this game is incredibly subjective. Famine Dragon. So I just hit my upgrade cap yesterday and pretty much walled at 580. Is the next push to upgrade just by level? No. No. You want it once you soft cap, once you get this circle with a line through it on champions, favor isn't really going to help you push further for the most part, generally speaking. At that point, you should also, if you've capped out your favor, you should have also maxed your blessings, except for, I would say, Avernus currently. That would be the only place you don't max blessings after soft capping. So to push further, you're going to need to start doing more patron stuff, get more influence, and max out their perks. There's 4 different patrons with 4 sets of perks that are going to help you push further, right? You're also going to want to make sure that you're leveling your Modron core, because this core, if you go from 0 core to a fully epic modest core, and modest currently the better pushing core from meta pushing, there are situations where the strong core might be better, but that's like Krond pushes, things like that. But if you go from no core to fully epic core, that's 100 levels of progress right there. So getting your modest core and leveling it up fully, and then epicking out the flow fully, there's more push power for you. So these are the things that you have to start doing, along with like improving your gear, getting everything put into full epics, getting the best feats. Like those are some more incremental bonuses, but because you're taking like that one incremental bonus in a vacuum may not be very big, but because you're taking all of these bonuses and they're all multiplying against each other, it ends up allowing you to push much further. That's how this game works. It's lots of little incremental bonuses and multiply against each other. So one bonus on its own may not be huge, and people may say, oh, that's not worth it. But you got to remember, you're multiplying against that. Like if you can grab lots of little bonuses and you plan to grab all of them, that ends up being a big deal. So you guys just got to get up into that. Got to get up into that. Jurioku Neko, I've got enough for my first manual time gate. Should I go for Akira? Yeah. Yep. Hot Dog Machine is web captioner used for the captions. It is. Captain Hawsey, after filling out your evergreen characters with epics via gold chests, where should you focus spending your gems on? The 500k core? No. Like even after you full epic your core and evergreens with golds, you're still going to want to collect all the feats, all the gold chest feats. And you're going to want to still get lots of power from bounty contracts, blacksmithing contracts, all those potions. Honestly, the strong core is there when you just feel like, well, I'm just going to get it for automation purposes. It's not, unless you're using very specific champions as your DPS, it's not going to help you. And the Discord can help you determine, what those champions are. But generally speaking, in the current meta, the modest core is more than enough. And you can get a second core just by doing split the party 2. You can get your fast core, and the fast core far better for you. You would want that fast core fully maxed out before you started trying to do a 500k gem grind for the strong core, because that fast core is going to help you fly through your gem farming. When doing free plays for wall pushing and favor farming, in terms of values, does it matter which map you pick? Do you mean like which adventure? Yeah, I know some adventures are harder with armored and hit-based enemies, but do those harder maps reward greater? No, they don't. Yeah, unless you're doing a variant that specifically says it's giving you more gold or more power to push further, then it doesn't matter. You try to look and find one that's not going to have hit-based or armored things. Really, just armored things. I don't mind hit-based things. Those are easy. Hit-based thing you can kill super easy because anybody can take a chunk off. including your clicks. So it's just armored. You don't want armored things, and you don't want things like the Devourer or the Cannon, right? Is there any champion that stacks between resets like Red Viper? Yeah, Red Viper was the first and kind of the experimental design of that. And then came Zorbu 2.0, and he kind of broke the game with his stacks. That's why he's the second best DPS in the game right now. And then Torgar was like their third take on permanent stacks, and Torgar is far more balanced. I would say Black Viper's a bit underbalanced, Zorbu's a bit overbalanced, and Torgar's about right. He's not like, oh, I'm super amazing OP, but he gets the job done in the right situation, and that's kind of what you're looking for. What's my wild offer? It's an imp. It's an imp with Modron chests for $20. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here, but I have a lot of these don't impress me much, I guess, because I have a lot of this already, and I don't need Modron chests at the moment, so that's not going to get bought. If I needed Modron chests, I might. Yeah. The all champs dances during which event? I think this was making fun of the way I was saying stuff. I don't know. I get tongue twisted at times, folks, when you talk for 2 hours straight. Simple Andy. I've been playing the game for the past 1.5 months and managed to get some heroes from events. Can you recommend someone good to have in party heroes or must-haves? I have difficulty going past stage 225 on any campaign. Yeah, so the new player kind of power pushing champions. The first one, I think, is Krull. Krull's going to do you a lot of good when you first start. And he'll do a lot of good later on. It just depends. Like, he's in the same slot with Ashara, so you have to use a different DPS with Krull. So you have to be out of the Jarlaxle phase, which it sounds like you are, and into using somebody else. So that somebody else could be Hitch, or it could be maybe you're using Minsk or Jamila. I don't consider them super great for various reasons. So as long as you've got another DPS that can work with Krull, then you want to pick up Krull, because Krull is going to give you lots of debuffs. He's the king of debuffs in the game, where Kira's the queen. But Krull also gives you lots of gold, lots of gold, which early on gives you lots of power via upgrades, but also then gets you lots of favor, so then gets you lots more power by blessings. So the Krull is just a snowball for a brand new player. But he does need champions that attack either the closest enemy or random enemies. He can't work with Jarlaxle because Jarlaxle attacks the furthest enemy, and the way Krull's Plague's worth, that doesn't synergize at all. Otherwise, the aforementioned Kira, there's Avern in slot 11, but Avern really needs to get to upgrade level 200, so you need a good amount of gold. You might be there at 225. It's hard to say. It's been a while. So Avern needs level 200. Who else we got? Who else would I would say would be a requirement? Oh, early on, because if you're newer, you may not have a solid swap here to get away from Jarlaxle. Baloth does a lot of work as a buffer and a gold find champion. So if you could pick up Baloth, if you don't have anybody to swap with for Jarlaxle yet, Baloth is a good first target. People like Briv, you got freely in this event. Human is a thing. People like the speed primarily for Human, though, so I don't know that you need to go for him right away. I like Ayla as a tank. Yeah. And then Zorbu is, later on, Zorbu is someone to look at. But I would get Orkira and Avren and Krull, because they're kind of DPS agnostic. They don't need a specific DPS to work with. So you can push really well just having them. And you'll use Orkira and Avren forever until they get nerfed or somebody comes out that's better. Adamouth 50, does Hitch's thrown daggers and ricochet bounces trigger group on hit effects like Freely's Luck of Yandala? Yes. I assume if it does, it will also work for multi-hit heroes like Calliope and Ashara. Yes. And also AoE. You apply Luck of Yondala with AoE attacks when they're all clumped up. Kentucky Buddha, not related to 2021 champs, but I'm doing a Vajra variant on the job training. And on level 350, I'm beating the boss and it's not advancing. Is there anything I can do other than just restarting? Well, you don't have to quit the mission. You shouldn't have to quit the mission. You may want to... You've restarted the game twice and that hasn't worked. Back up a level, then restart, and then try it again. Sometimes there are situations where it just doesn't trigger the kill effect. And it may be because of certain champions you're using. So you may have to fiddle with your formation or something and try it a couple times until it gets credit. You can submit a ticket, but it's the weekend. Sean might be working today. I don't remember if he works weekends or not, but yeah, so that's the slower way to do it. But yeah, I would at least, if you can't get it fixed by bouncing back and forth a couple times, submit a ticket, and post it, maybe post on the Discord. How do you recommend spending patron currency? Should I be buying chests, or do I need to save up for when the more exciting prizes are available? And I'm seeing sometimes Sean will look at stuff on the weekends, but usually it's just during the week, right? Yeah. Okay. So in the shop, usually the thing you want to buy every week is the time gate piece. Early on, I think that's the best use for your currency. I wouldn't be buying patron chests right away. They're expensive. And early on, before you've gotten full epics on your core and evergreen champions, you could get an epic from a patron chest for your core and evergreen. And that's an expensive epic. It is much easier to just buy gold chests with gems and epic out your core and evergreens first. Remove them from the pool that's going to drop from these chests before you start opening these, generally speaking. So yeah, time gate pieces are the first buy, and Modron component chests are the second buy. Those are your two priorities each week for a while. And then you'll know when you can start doing everything. But I generally don't recommend buying patron chests until you've already fully epiced out your core and evergreen champions from just regular gold chests. Yeah. Get those epics the cheap way. I'm to the point I want to spend gems on champion feat unlocks. Would you start with the patron qualifying feats or buffing feats? Certain patron qualifying feats, absolutely. Give yourself more, bench slots potentially for those patrons. Pick them up. And then look at, the champions that you're using the most. And, pick up the useful feats for them. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good priority. Is there an exhaustive list of mobs, racial species tags affected by Jahira and Minsk's passive? Like, what would be a monstrosity? A monstrosity, Adamath, is a monstrosity. If you hover... I know that sounds a bit reductive, but if you hover over... And let's hide these two. One of these. This says Fiend when I hover over it. And apparently it almost killed it. If you hovered over something and it said, this is an aberration... Okay, they are very literal with the tags. So Minsk only has favored enemy on 5 different types of creatures. That doesn't cover everything in the game. It's just those 5. So these are fiends and aberrations. If you hovered over a monstrosity, it would say monstrosity. Is there an exhaustive list of that stuff? You can find, there's probably on like either a wiki somewhere or one of the fan sites, there's a list of the different things. But literally, Minsk qualifies for... hold on. Let me pull up specifically... because if I do it off my head, I'm going to get something wrong. Because I don't use them a whole lot. Humanoids, beasts, undead, fey, or monstrosities. That's it. Humanoids, beasts, undead, fey, or monstrosities. So if it doesn't say that when you hover it over them, that's not going to count. Now, as far as Jahira goes... Jahira. Here she is. Pulling these up all on my guides on the subreddit. Jahira wants a variety of different things. So she can do... she starts off with animals, like beasts. However, you can swap it over to be either... It can stay beasts, it can go to fiends, or it can go to humanoids. That's it. So if you hover over and it says something other than one of those, it's not counting. It's not counting. Get back out there. Get back out there. Wrong button, Gaarawarr. Okay, we only got about 10... Well, we got about like 5 minutes left because we're still going to go out listening to some music. Any tips on how to beat Zeriel as a new player? Which version of... Oh, yeah, the event Zeriel. You just need... I've been doing this... Man, I think I was blocking out. I started a new Epic Games account. So I've been playing the event, and man, Zeriel beat the just crap out of me repeatedly. Zeriel is way too strong. For a brand new player, Zeriel is way too strong. So you need a multi-attack champion because she is armored, which means you've got to hit her 50 times to kill her, and each of the 50 times has to be a high damage. So you're going to want to use Ashara, even if Ashara is suboptimal for you in the formation. You're going to want to use someone like Ashara or Hitch, who has... Ashara's earlier in the formation is probably going to do better as a newer player, especially when you're starting the event and it's low favor. Ashara is going to get off multiple attacks, and as long as you've got enough damage boosts, they're gonna chew through her. So as a new player, that's what you want to focus on. You want to build around an Ashara formation. Veteran players have lots of options. But for new players, you got to focus your DPS. You got to focus Ashara DPS. Even if like Jarlaxle is for a new player is usually the higher DPS, but he only attacks once, and you're not going to live through your Nayeli won't live through Zeriel beating on her, because Zeriel hits for like on level 50. Zeriel hits for like 375. And at the level you are when you get there, Nayeli doesn't even have that much health. So it's like a one-shot. At best, with Calliope helping, it's a two-shot. Maybe 3, if you got some heals from Celeste. But yeah, so level 50 Zeriel is rough for a brand new player. So use Ashara and level up as much as you can. Is it worth replacing Makos with Shaka? It's subjective. We kind of went over the situations, how it's going to be subjective. If you can get all of his things, it might be. But a gear and stuff is going to determine that too. You've got to figure that out yourself by trying it out in game. Is it worth it to save up gems to buy familiars? Sure. You want to buy the less expensive ones first, pretty quickly, but you want gear too. Mars and I teamed up on a guide for that. You can put !GVA in chat, and we talk about how to make those decisions for yourself. Using speed champs whenever you can. You use them at the start of runs. But then as their speed effects wear off, or as enemies start building up and you can't move forward quickly anymore, then you swap them out for pushing champions. Who's that in the 5th slot? I don't even know anymore. Oh, this is Dadius. That's what we were talking about. This is Dadius. That's just his skin. The Lich Dadius. How do you set up Modrons? Oedicus, that's a whole long conversation. I did guides for that. They're on the Cena Games YouTube channel. So you look for the very first one in the playlist for the Gaarawarr's Guide tutorial playlist. Should be Gaarawarr's Guide to multi-party and Modron animation. There's also some other video guides in there that go further into it. You can also find links to that on my wiki page. Exclamation point. Gaar guides. Go there. How far away do you think Tier 2 Avalanche blessings are? I don't know what Avalanche is. You're talking Icewind Dale? The devs confirmed basically that that's probably going to be fall-winter this year. So, fall at the earliest, winter at the middle, and maybe 2022. For the latest, but they're going to get them out as soon as they can. They needed to do, a long time ago, they told us that they needed to do some special coding for the next set of blessings. And right now, all hands are on deck for the asynchronous co-op multiplayer feature that was going to come out in the summer is now going to come out in the fall. So until they get that out and get that sorted, they're not going to have coding time to do blessings. If we get a Tabaxi patron, would their bonuses be called perks? I hope so. Is there anyone S-tier champion everyone should get right away? Oh, I mean, that's... again, like, as a brand new player, Krull. But then long... And it's going to serve you well and snowball you as you start off your adventures. Averin or Kira are fantastic. What champs do you recommend for slots 9 and 10? I only have the default. 10, Havilar. And in the next event, you're going to get Eliwick Tumblestrum. She'll be a slot 10 champion, so that'll set you up for Split the Party and Split the Party 2. In 9, I like Ayla. You get Makos by default, and you can unlock Dritz just by playing through the Sword Coast and doing Overdue Rendezvous. So grab him to get you Split the Party and Split the Party 2 ready. Wow, we have a lot more questions. I'm not going to be able to get through them all because we are out of time, folks. We are out of time. Where in the UI do I see the name of Modern Core? You don't. It's like when you first unlock them, they tell you the names, and then after that, they never do again. So you just have to know what they are. This is the modest core you get initially, so it's the clean-looking Modron eye. This is the strong core. It's kind of squinty with the armor. And this is the fast core with the winged eyebrows. The winged eyebrows. That's the fast core. You just kind of got to know what they are. Just got to know what they are. And that's going to be it, everybody. If you had other questions that you didn't get answered, maybe people answered them in chat. If they didn't, head to the Discord, into the new player channel, and ask there, and someone will help you. We'll be back next week, Wednesday. We should talk about this. Wednesday, July 14th, the Summer Spectacular starts. Yay! And the Red Pandas are coming. Yay! There's Red Panda skins coming for some champions, some familiars. They're coming on Wednesday. Well, they're sort of arriving on Wednesday, but Wednesday is going to kick off a week-long meta event where if you log in every day, you can get you can grab free prizes out of the client. You do have to log in every day. You get 4 out of 7. You get a Red Panda Freely skin. That's I think we have just renamed it 5 Nights at Freely's. Get the 5 Nights at Freely skin by logging in 4 out of 7 days during the event. So the Summer Spectacular event starts Wednesday the 14th. There will be a day of streaming that starts early in the morning and goes all day long. The full schedule of what's going on with streams next week will arrive on Monday. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We are going to go out to another song from one of our champions. We did Orkira's earlier. We're going to do Salisa's now. This is Soaking Away Regret from Bardic Inspiration. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Bye.
Time away from phone. Did some good things and the battles were no joke. Think I settled in for the night with a book and a nice long soul. Gonna doff my armor and hang up my clothes. Take some time to run a whetstone down my blade. Wash the stains from my plate and think of the choices I made. Raise a tear that I've come to the end of this day. Need some downtime to soothe the nerves I've been free. Set that glass of whiskey down upon my sheet. Take a moment to recover and be healed. Tomorrow I'll be time when my quest is through. The body count I said it must prove. Set that glass of whiskey down upon my sheet. Take a moment to recover and be healed. Tomorrow I'll be right back out there fighting on feet. But tonight I'll raise my glass and drink tea. Sinking further down, sliding back, walking memory lane, following my track. Those I lost, to those I must attack. Remembering those that haunt me as I fade to black. Set that glass of whiskey down upon my sheet. Take a moment to recover